Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day, contrary to the nonsense that occurred today earlier. We'll check that out here in a moment, of course. And obviously, if you're new to the channel, thanks for joining me here. Hope you learned a thing or two here today. If you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a great website to reference. Still under construction, of course, but you can register and learn how to become a better trader. I do teach that quite frequently, day in and day out with my members, and I hope that you can learn something here, of course, as well. That's the whole point of this and purpose, because Bitcoin has been interesting lately, to say the least, as far as the ebbs and flows of the market. It is progressing upwards, of course, even still, which is great to see. And I think we're looking, very good in one sense, but also overexhausted in another. So I'll explain what I mean by that. We're going to kind of look a little bit deeper, into specific areas of Bitcoin today. Just kind of draw perspective to kind of go with somewhat of a historical understanding of how things go and just, kind of what to expect based on that, right? Because most of this TA is, taking previous events and anticipating what's going to happen in the future, right? And there's no foolproof plan. It never works out the way you want it to, but you can kind of increase your odds, right? And that's the whole point of this. So take a look at Bitcoin first. The thing we're going to look at is kind of the standard stuff, of course. We are up over the 50-day set moving average still. So just keep in mind that is working its way down a little bit. It is trending right around 42.5. So heaven forbid the price were to come back down, which is still possible. We should see a lot of resistance, or more so support, of course, at the 41.5 to 43,000 range. So that area is looking pretty decent at this point to hold the price action in place. All right. So if we were to lose that, that's kind of where, we'll bridge that gap later. We don't have a lot of volume below 41.5, but I don't personally foresee that happening, at least coming much lower than that, unless something catastrophic occurs in the market, right? So again, pending all fundamental stuff aside, Bitcoin's still looking very good, right? Now, keep this in mind, big picture, we need to understand, though, that we are not out of the woods yet. I personally feel, again, some people might disagree with this, 46 to 48,000 is a pretty strong resistance zone. And what I mean by that is if we look at 46,000, for example, first of all, this was a strong support level previously for Bitcoin, right? So almost the entire month of December, since we wicked down on the 4th, we saw the price action continue to progress sideways right at about 46,000. It wicked down to about 45.5. Coincidentally, we're seeing some resistance at 45,500 right now. And what that basically just means, if you pull up the volume profile and you kind of understand, based on the amount of volume last, just say 2 months worth of trading data here, we can see the largest amount of volume accumulation between 46 and 48,000. That is awesome in a way, right? That's a good shelf. That's going to be a good foundation once we get there. But just know that traditionally speaking, with volume creates a resistance in a lot of ways, right? So in the sense here, right, we're in price discovery, for lack of better terms. If you look at how little volume we have in the zone between 44 and 46, because we had a free for all previously and never even came close to building any volume at that time. So right now, we could expect some turbulence going into 46,000. Not necessarily more turbulence than what we've seen recently, because it's been a little bit crazy with the ups and downs. But what I mean is I mostly just resistance. I'm expecting 46 to hold as a strong resistance. And then even when we break into 46, we want to probably have a nice solid, couple days worth of close, either above 46 or even better, 48,000. Because you see the most amount of volume accumulation is right at about 48 in the last 2 months. All right. If we zoom out, say we go ahead and look back at just say, what is this? Basically, roughly about 6 months, right in that range. We can still see the most amount of volume accumulation right around 46.5. Okay. So once again, looking at all the data here, just in a rough, pretty big picture here, rough estimate, we're looking at more volume accumulation above the current price point than at the present price point. That causes somewhat of a resistance. Okay, so just be mindful of that. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. So to me, confirmation is going to be, a one-day candlestick close above 48,000, but a good starting point is to close above 46. I don't personally think we're going to hit that on this run. And the main reason why, and let me bring this to your attention, this is also extremely important to understand. TD sequential is historically, with Bitcoin, never gone past a 9. I think only one time it has in the last calendar year. And what I mean by that is, if you're new to the channel, or just in general, let me explain. TD sequential helps you understand the fourth previous candlestick, it counts up from there. In other words, 7 right here, it takes a look at the third candlestick and counts, yes, it's higher, so it keeps counting. Once we hit a 9, that reaches a state of exhaustion. In other words, we've had 9 continuous days or candlesticks worth of momentum in that same direction. Look at this. Previously here, we hit an 8, and the price came down afterwards, right? Let's go ahead and take a look at every single occurrence previously. Granted, this is a bearish type of market. Let's look more so at the bullish market. And when the price is moving up, we saw a 9 here, followed by consolidation, went mostly sideways. Okay, so truth be told, it doesn't have to drop after a 9, but for the most part, when you see a 9, you'll see a decrease. It's a very, very common occurrence. Okay, so that being said, that is a healthy thing, right? That's a good thing. That's why parabolic increases are negative, because the simple fact that they kind of defy the law of trading, and the law of trading tells you that if you come up this far, you have to come back down and correct yourself, right? That's why there's ebbs and flows of trading. It comes up and it comes down, and you don't just have a straight line, right? So what does this look like to you? Does this look like a straight line to you? Sort of, right? Again, it's not foolproof, right? It's not exact, but the truth be told here is that we're in a position right now where we're getting close to that exhaustive state. We're coming up to a major key level resistance, and I think the likelihood of expecting it to blast right through there is very, very amateur, or just over optimistic, right? And again, I like to be the voice of reason. I like to give you a neutral aspect of things. I'm not a bull, I'm not a bear. I shift from one side to another based on the market conditions, right? And at this point, of course, I'm bullish in the big picture, but we need to understand that in the short term, the next week or less, we could very well see a correction and pullback. It's not going to be dramatic like I personally feel, and I've mentioned this in multiple videos previously. We have a large amount of volume accumulation right here at 41,500. Okay, so 41.5 should be the lowest point in which the price will go for the immediate correction. Obviously, if we lose that, we'd be making lower highs and lower lows in the weekly, and that would be adverse, of course. But it's natural to see a correction to come down to a point right around the largest amount of volume accumulation in the recent past. Okay, so again, just kind of throwing that out there. Extract what you want from that. But I personally feel, with us being at a 7, especially with Fridays notoriously being red days, at least when they are following a series of green days, we could expect some correction this weekend. That's my personal feeling, and that's my personal thought. You don't have to sell all your portfolios. You don't have to sell all your positions. I'm just telling you to be mindful of that. Maybe set some money aside for some dollar cost average targets, okay? And I do make those kind of videos frequently, so my members understand specifically where they can invest effectively. Typically, it's just key level support levels, and those are all based on Fibonacci retracement lines. And previous support, of course. Again, I make videos for that separate, but I wanted to kind of throw that out there, let you know that it's not a terrible thing, if the price were to come back down. The sky isn't going to be falling. I think that we're going to hold 41.5 if it comes down that low, okay? Just also know we have a lot of volume right around 44,000 and 43,000, so that would be the most immediate support level too. We may not see a correction past that point, but just know that we can expect at least a red day soon, right? I think it would be naive to expect just constant green days moving forward, okay? Again, so just kind of help think about that, all right? Just to kind of get you thinking. If we were to lose support, keep this in mind. The 50-day simple moving average on the 4-hour chart will and could likely be tested, right? So say the price comes down here and here, and the simple moving average comes up, that could be a point of contention where the price will kind of get stunted out there, so to speak. So likelihood, again, as the days progress here further, the likelihood of the 50-day simple moving average, working its way up, intersecting with the price action gets higher, right? It's only inevitable. So once that happens, just know we have that as a potential support level, and the longer it takes to get there, the better. And in some cases, based on the simple fact that it's moving up with the average. So by the time the price comes back down, if it were to, 43,000 might be right where the 50-day SMA is lining up, and that's a good thing. We like to see that holding as a support. Looking at the RSI, in fact, let's peek really quick at the 1-day RSI. Keep this in mind as well. It's another one of those overextensions. We're coming close to hitting 70 on the RSI. That's commonly a resistance level, specifically on the 1-day chart. So keep that in mind. That could also kind of push the price action down. Once again, I think we're going to possibly test 46,000, and if we do, I don't foresee us breaking it. It's just my thought process. There might be a short squeeze type of scenario potential, but at best we'll see a wick up and a candle wick down, right? So I think we're going to see some turbulence again when we hit the 46 to 48,000 range. But going into that key level resistance at an exhaustive state is not the best, right? It doesn't happen very often for it to happen that way. Now keep this in mind though. This is building momentum, of course. The midterm is looking very good on the 4-hour. So, contrary to what the 1-day is telling us with an exhaustive potential state, Just note that the 4-hour is pushing hard right now, and it's trying to break RSI at 70, and it's also trying to converge on the MACD. These are both notoriously very good signs. Okay, so generally speaking, for a swing trade signal, this is going to basically tell you want to consider taking a long position. Okay, that's what it's telling us. Now, is that wise in this market right now with all the volatility and, of course, some strong resistance moving forward? I'll let you be the judge of that. I wouldn't think that it's a smart idea to take a long position right now, even though we have a nice MACD convergence here. Okay. Once again, I think there's some strong resistances coming up, and we just got to be aware of that, respect that, see what happens first, and then move forward, right? Wait for confirmation. We're not confirmed just yet, even though the 4-hour is telling us we have a nice shift of momentum to a bullish sentiment from this most recent dip, right? So that correction we saw last night is essentially, getting erased right now, right? It's almost as if it didn't happen. And this large candle wick up and down from the CPI data today, it's almost as if that didn't happen either. I mean, you take a look at this, that's a pretty decent little correction there, right? 4% correction for Bitcoin is pretty significant. It hit the reset button for a lot of altcoins. In fact, I got stopped out on a couple of my trades that I sent out. Of course it doesn't feel good, right? We don't love to see that. But that's why you have stop losses in place, because heaven forbid the price continue to progress down. We didn't get liquidated on our signal, right? We just took a decent hit instead. Those are things you have to come to terms with when you become a trader, and you got to be ready and be happy to bounce back. But the key is to not revenge trade, right? You can't just jump right in and make your money right back. It happens sometimes, but a lot of times you can get wrecked, and be careful. But this is not one of those. Obviously, we look at the 1 hour; it recovered quite severely, quite quickly here in the last 4 hours. So, again, Bitcoin is recovering nice. I think that, the CPI data was kind of baked in, so to speak. 7.5 is much better than they expecting 7.8. And I think for right now, we can expect the price to continue to kind of try to, surge for the remainder of the day. But just bear in mind, we have some extreme volatility when the market opens and when the market closes. So try to set your alarm for that time frame and consider waiting on the sidelines, or possibly, gamble, but with a tight stop loss, just to ensure you don't lose too much if it goes the wrong way. All right. Because the market open and market closes have proven to be very volatile, right? All right, so to take a look here at the 1 hour call today, Ichimoku Cloud is definitely giving us, a buy signal right now. It kind of goes without saying. The thing I don't love about this is that the conversion line and the baseline are tight together. That happens when you have such sporadic price action. It basically tells you that it could change on a razor's edge, right? In other words, this sharp increase in the last 4 hours, which was a total of 6% for Bitcoin in 4 hours, that's quite a lot, right? That is going to cause a potential problem, because the fact that these two are really, really tight, and when you have the conversion line and the baseline together, it's never traditionally a good sign. It just basically means we're on a razor's edge and anything could happen. That being said, the price could retrace back down, and if it were to, once again, we have this potential support level with the cloud and 44,000 now, but on the same accord, we're also reaching exhaustive state on the 1 day, okay? It's going to come to a head here soon. Now, once again, it's not going to just drop like a rock, or perhaps it does, but we shouldn't expect it to, right? I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to be real with you and let you know that this momentum should slow down and taper off soon. And based on how the market responds this weekend will tell us a lot about the near future. Obviously, if it retraces back down, I think that'd be better than for the price to just kind of stay where it's at and consolidate at 46. The reason why is because you need to have those natural ebbs and flows. Once again, looking at the 1 day chart here, if we go back to September, for example, September, yes, we had some really strong pushes up, right? But without this correction, this little leg down, we wouldn't have had this next leg up, right? It keeps going like that. Obviously, this was some fundamental data that we couldn't anticipate, and the same here as well. But for the most part, you need to have periods of consolidation before the legs up occur, right? And we've literally look at this. We've had one red day out of 15 in the last trading days. Do you really think that's going to sustain much longer? All right, again, just trying to throw it out there. Think about this. Can you continue to run for 15 hours straight without a rest, right? Bitcoin had a very small rest, but it had a nice recovery, which is all well and good. But if you don't, exercise a little bit of caution here moving forward, I think that's just being naive. And, there's a difference in being naive and optimistic, right? It's okay to be optimistic, but you got to be cautiously optimistic and be real with yourself, and just know that we're seeing extreme extreme exhaustion, I would say, or coming up to it. And we're at this point where it could literally come back down, all right? So again, I'm not bearish on Bitcoin at this point. I can just tell you that we should expect a bearish type of divergence, which is completely normal in the relative near future. Okay, so take that away from this conversation. If you're going to hear anything, hear that Bitcoin is not going to drop like a rock. It's going to correct itself naturally, which would likely be somewhere down in the range of 43 to 41. Okay, so I think that would be probably the lowest range in which we'll see. Okay, so I hope you understand and learn something here today, of course, and I appreciate you listening this far if you retained any of the things that I just mentioned. So thanks again for joining me here. Hope you had a good learning experience, and we'll look forward to getting to know you better too. Once again, CryptoCache.tech is a website if you'd like to consider becoming a member. Send out signals. I provide you with a trading academy so you can learn how to become a better trader, and we all learn and grow together. It's an amazing experience. Thank you so much to my current members for your patience recently, as well as just the craziness and what we're having to deal with right now. Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and we just got to roll with it. All right, thanks again for your time. I'll see you in the next one.